Good afternoon, everybody. Beach volleyball coaches, thank you very much for joining us today. Um, with me today is our Southern Section Instructional Chair for Beach Volleyball, Tony Giarla. We just want to do a brief video for you that quickly highlights some of the key points as we embark on our initial championship season of CF Southern Section Beach Volleyball. I'll go over a few things, then I'll turn it over to Tony to touch on some points of emphasis as far as rules and the role of the beach monitor, so matches can kind of seamlessly pull off and function a little bit faster and bring everybody up to speed on the same page. If you notice right now over here on our screen, you'll see the Southern Section website, and I've pulled up the page for you that says Girls Beach Volleyball. There is a good picture of our adopted Wilson Optic Yellow NCAA ball. That'll be the ball that is required for use during the Southern Section playoffs. If you use something different during the regular season, that's totally fine. But once we get to the team and individual championships, that will be the required ball that is in for use. The next document I want to point out to you is the season preview. Hopefully you've seen that at this point by now. You've gone through it. It's got some great valuable information in there for you. There's a list of contacts along with myself that we've kind of gone ahead and elected an advisory committee. You can reach out to any of them or send me an email if you have questions as we progress throughout the season. In here, you'll see some calendar dates. These are important to know. Obviously, the season has began. Now we just have to worry about and focus on the end of the season, which comes on April 20th. As we go forward, this is a Q&A that has been in there now. We've had up for probably the second year. These are the most commonly referenced questions that come up when either you've had a beach volleyball team and now it's an official CIF Southern Section sport, or you're just starting a volleyball program. Review these. A lot of it focuses on club play and how it affects or relates to team play during the season of sport. This should hopefully guide you, but again, if you have other additional questions, let me know and we're happy to help. We'd rather cut off any issues early in the year before it becomes an issue later. As we go through here, there's some common Blue Book bylaws that coaches should be aware of and how they affect your volleyball team. And then we go into, there's a specific Blue Book beach volleyball section, which you can access here, and it's roughly 20 pages, and that's why it's not reprinted. This is one of the more recent documents that we have of a league breakdown and schools that we know are participating. This has changed slightly, but it gives you a good idea of who has beach volleyball, what leagues are offering it, and how we'll use that to advance into the team championships. Before I get into and turn this over to Tony, and we talk about officials, let me also show for you the rules of beach volleyball. That's up on our website. Here, 8 pages of very good, brief, succinct information that hopefully helps you and guides you as we progress through the season. And then the other document I want to bring your attention to, this was a suggestion of some of our schools. We've come up, Tony and Todd came up with a universal scoring page that should make it fairly easy for you, especially for the programs that are brand new and didn't even have a score sheet. So this one is there for you. You can download it from our website and use at every match. Jumping back to the season preview, and again, I'll let Tony step in at this point. It kind of goes over this next section of the preview and what Tony's going to discuss. It talks about the officials. We do hope, we encourage you to schedule a monitor, especially if you're learning the program. But it goes into what the monitor would do pre-match, and then we get into, as I mentioned, Tony will get into the specific rules of beach volleyball that should help you get your program off and running. Tony, I think that's it for me. Let me go ahead and cut it over to you.
Mike, do you want to mention anything about the results because of the qualification for playoffs
Yes.
before I dive
Yes.
into the rules?
Yes. Thank you so much. Coaches, I let me back up a couple steps. So right now we have 21 viable leagues, which means playoff entries for the team will come from those leagues. And depending on how many schools you have in each league, for example, a 4-team league gets 2 automatic entries. A 5 or 6 team league gets 3 automatic team entries, and a 7 or 8 league gets 4 automatic entries, and so on. It expands the more teams you have in your league. So those automatic entries will be submitted by your league coordinator, and which will help us. We'll use to build the team brackets. We're going to have a Division 1 and 2 this year. The size of the brackets obviously unknown right now, but the direction we're leaning is Division 1 will have a 16-team bracket, and Division 2 will have a 32-team bracket, and it'll be scheduled just like any other team sport, like soccer, basketball, football. Is that bracket will play out? There'll be a home school site that the away travels to, and they'll have that match, and they'll advance into the bracket, which will lead us to our championship at Long Beach City College. We plan to have the semifinals and finals at Long Beach City College for the 2 divisions. That will take place, if I look at the calendar, that will be May 5th or 6th for the team championship. And we'll obviously lead you more down that path once that date becomes. But all league play needs to end by Thursday, April 20th, and then the league coordinator will submit the team entries for postseason play. That's the team event. Now, the individual event we will run the following week on Tuesday and Wednesday. And very similar, some of you that are familiar with the tennis model, but leagues are going to have or need to have a individual championship tournament. And then the results from that will feed into the individual pairs tournament that we will host on May, I believe it's 9th and 10th, if my dates are correct, the following Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be working on seeding of that. It'll be pool play, played into a bracket over a 2-day period. We will also have additional room for freelance pairs to enter that, but there'll be more information to come, and you can just watch our website to follow up with that. But that's the plan going forward for a team championship and an individual pairs championship. The last thing, one of the requirements, if you're not there yet and you're building your program, you do need to have 5 pairs in order to field a program for the team championship. So just keep that in mind as you progress, and if you keep adding players, you might have to call players up from your junior varsity level. But if you qualify for the team championship, you must have 5 pairs to fill that team and head into a playoff match. Okay, I think that's it, Tony. Thank you for that reminder. I totally missed that piece.
Yeah, great. So thanks, everybody. I just want to briefly go over some of the key rules that have been implemented for CIF Southern Section play. And I think it really starts with the spirit of the game rule. And that means that the teams play with outside intervention, or assistance of any type. So there's really no spectators, parents, and teammates calling in and out, but they are encouraged to positively cheer throughout the entirety of the match. And so I guess that leads us into like coaching and when you can coach and when you cannot actually be actively coaching. Coaching is permitted, only while there are set breaks, during timeouts, and then on side switches, we allow walking and talking. But the walking and talking is not a timeout. It's not meant to delay the pace of the match. If the teams get to their sides, and they're ready to go, then the next serve should begin. So there's no active coaching while the ball is in play, and there's no active coaching even between plays. It's limited to those 3 times, as well as timeouts. The only active coaching you can do is that you are allowed to suggest a timeout to your team. And then the team itself can request the timeout or signal for the timeout. And the court monitor or the other team will recognize that timeout request, and then they can go to their benches and you can engage with the kids during that time. And that obviously that's very different from indoor. The coaches that have been doing beach for a number of years understand that. Some of the coaches that are transitioning from the indoor side, we just want to make that clear for everybody. There's no engaging with officials. The spirit and the setup that CIF is using is that the 4 athletes that are on the court are responsible for officiating their match. The team that is assigned to do the scorebook and the score is not there to officiate. The idea is that we will have a court monitor in place at all matches, and that way they can help educate the 4 athletes on the court how to officiate properly, and be there to support any decisions that those kids make while the game is going on, and any fault that occurs. One of the big differences is the hand setting for beach volleyball as compared to indoor, and the multiple contact rule. For CIF Southern Section, any ball can be played with an open hand and finger action. The difference between indoor and beach is that the ball has to be played cleanly every time. So if they take a serve with their hands and there's a double fault, it's a double. The players on the court should recognize that fault and stop play. The only time that a multiple contact is allowed is on a hard driven ball. So if there's an attack from one player and the defender puts their hands up and doubles a ball, that is the only time that we play on. So that's a big difference between the indoor and the beach side of things. Let's see. As far as net contact, the net is a fault at any time. So if the players are turning and running away from the net, or they're chasing the ball into the net, they hit the net and the ball's away from them, it is still a net fault on the beach. On the indoor side, it's a bit different. Pursuit, there is pursuit on the beach. Players are allowed to chase a ball that goes outside the antenna and bring it back outside the antenna, as long as their team has a third hit to play it back in between the antennas. Ball marks on the sand. If there's a question of in and out near a line, the team can ask and request for ball mark protocol, where they can go over and actually see where the ball hit the sand and collectively come up with whether it's an in or out call. This is a great opportunity to use the monitor that is on site. And we'll get into the specifics of the monitor here shortly. Let's see, any other specific rules? I guess then the other big one that we talk about is block touches count as a team contact. So indoor, a block doesn't count as a touch. You still get 3 contacts. On the beach, a block touch, first contact. Team only has 2 more contacts to play the ball over. And then the last one is really the open hand tip rule. On the beach, there is no open hand tipping. There is no setter dumping. Everything has to be what we refer to as a pokey, which is knuckles or hard fingers, a roll shot, or an attack. So those are really the questions that have come up that we've seen for the players as far as rules of play while the ball is in play. Our goal is to have a monitor at all of the duels. And the monitor's responsibility starts and should be on site 1 hour before the scheduled duel time. They're there to assist with the net adjustments to ensure that all courts of play, the nets are the proper heights. If there is an issue with the lines, they're there to help reinstall or move lines if necessary so that they're square on both sides. And then they're managing the warm-up and communicating with the teams and the players about start time. So if we're playing across 5 courts, during that last half an hour, they're beginning to make aware, hey, 20 minutes till we're starting, 10 minutes till we're starting. And at that 10-minute mark, that's when the official warm-up begins. Players and teams should report to their courts at that 10-minute mark. They should check in with the scorekeepers. They should figure out their service order, and then they should start their official warm-up time. And the monitor throughout that process will be, verbalizing the countdown. 7 minutes, ladies, 5 minutes till play, 2 minutes to first serve, and then blowing the whistle and allowing first serves to begin. Once the duel has begun, the beach monitor is going to go from court to court. They're going to keep their eyes on the play that's happening. They're really there as ambassadors and educators. They're an extension of the host school to ensure that fair play is happening across each court. So please ask questions of them. They're there to help. They'll help with the score. If there is a problem on a court, if teams can't agree, they're there to arbitrate any difficult situations, which might just end up being a replay. If they don't see the play in question, a lot of times they'll just come back with a replay. But they're there to really be a support system for those kids as they learn to advocate for themselves on the court. For a lot of them, that'll be the first time that they're trying to call infractions, and they could be nervous or not quite understand the rules. So for the coaches and the kids to know that the monitor is there as a resource, that's really, at the end of the day, we're just trying to be a positive influence on the sport. Mike, I don't know if we really have anything else to share at this time, but that we're really looking forward. We love being out there. We love interacting with the kids. And again, we're there to answer questions, support, and answer any rules as they come up.
All right. No, Tony, that's great information. I appreciate it. Coaches, thanks for taking the 20 minutes or so to watch this. And again, you can reach out to me if you have any questions. If it's something I can't answer, I will get Tony involved, and he'll tackle it. He gets it back to me very quickly. And then we also have Todd Livedall as a resource as well. But let's just hope that we can kind of keep the sport progressing, picking up more and more Southern Section schools that add the sport later in the year or next year. But for now, thank you and good luck. And again, have fun. Please be in contact.